Hey everybody, welcome back. This week I have Audrey with us, and she's going to teach us all about Shaper Studio and the draw tool.
Yeah, we're going to make a nice little tray for this combo square using trace, and we'll clean it up with draw tool. And we're also going to make this most adorable micro sustainer cleat organizer for your shop or our shop. And why would someone want to come in and tune in live next time instead of watching this on YouTube?
Well, you can be registered for giveaways and ask questions live and chat with other Origin owners. So see you soon and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. It's Thursday. You know what that means. It's sessions. I'm Sean, and today I'm here with
Audrey. Hi. Nice to see you again.
If you don't know Audrey, you should have been already checking out some of the studio tutorials because she's been doing these for a while now. So we're going to bring her in this week. We're going to talk about Studio and all the cool things you can do with it, and really focusing on a new feature called the Draw Tool. It's going to be a super packed show. We're going to be checking the clock because we might run out of time, but I think we'll be okay. And let's just jump into it. Audrey, tell us about Studio.
So I've got Studio up here on my computer, and I just wanted to give you a brief introduction. In case you're not aware of Studio, Studio is Shaper's simplified design tool for craftspeople. So because we make Origin, we also realize that for some folks, learning CAD or using vector design tools can be kind of annoying, if not an obstacle to making things in your workshop, to getting to making the stuff you're imagining. So we made Studio for those people who really just don't want to spend that much time fussing with their computer. So Studio has really just the tools that you need to design things. It's got some simple creation tools over here on the left. We'll be talking about Draw Tool a lot later today. And then it's got some really thoughtful features for specifically for fabrication with plan and review. So for example, I could want to make an engraving, right? So one of the things we do that's really great for fabrication is when you put in a piece of text, and my mom's watching this show, so I'm just gonna put her name in here. Hi, Mom. When you put in a piece of text, you'll notice in the panel over here, we've got this filter for single line fonts, and we have some number of great options here for single line fonts. And what that means is these are super engravable. So
yeah, if you're not familiar with single line fonts, single line fonts have essentially one drawing through the letter. And when you engrave that with CNC or Origin or any other kind of digital fabrication tool, you get a much cleaner letter. If you were to do like a standard font, it would cut kind of the inside and the outside of the letter, and at a distance that gets hard to read. So there's a lot of single line fonts in Studio that you can use to cut with Origin, and let's just pop that in now. Now, one of the things we talked about with Studio is you can always create stuff right on the tool. My chair's a little low.
Let's make this a little bit bigger. How big is that piece of wood?
I have no idea. But we can scale it up on tool, and it's a cool little workflow. So on Origin, if you've never used Origin before, we do have some simple creation tools right on Origin. But when you need to do more, you're going to have to go to something like Studio or another vector program or CAD tool. And so, like for instance, Origin has the ability to do one font. But if you want different fonts, Studio is a much better solution for that. So instead of creating it right on tool, let's just import that. File. Now, Studio automatically saves files from Studio into the same system that Origin uses. So when you've created something on Studio, you don't need to think about saving it, exporting it, putting on a thumb drive, sticking it in your Origin. As long as they're both connected to the internet in the same account, they'll show up right on screen in the top. And if I click it, it's going to show up. So now you can see I'm moving it around here, and it is pretty small. So let's pop that up. On Origin, we can just click the scale button and type a width of, let's say, 6 inches. And we can see how that would look on screen. Let's make it a little bigger. I like a 9-inch, seems pretty good. Now, obviously, we could go back to Studio and change that too, but Studio and Origin kind of work together. You don't have to do one on one place or the other. A lot of times you can kind of use them both together. So this is a good example of that. So I'm just going to go to pilot mode. If you're not familiar and you're just getting here and you're not a weekly sessions viewer, we have a new product called Bench Pilot. it's an autonomous driving version of Origin. You clip it in. I'll show you this. When you clip it in, Origin automatically recognizes it's in BenchPilot, and it will automatically cut without you having to be there. So I've already set this up. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this. So I'm going to set my depth to, let's say, actually, Audrey, we do need to change these. It looks like we have a little bit of a depth encoding set up already. So let's go ahead, and I will just change them right here on Tool real quick.
Sorry, I was playing around with seeing how it looked. I didn't know what bit you had in there, so
yes.
I wanted to make it pop in review mode.
So we're getting a little deep already, but you can, in Studio, you can set the depths for all your shapes, and that will mean when you come to Origin, you don't have to really think about depths. But if they're incorrect, you will need to modify them on Tool or go back to Studio.
If your friend sets it up for you incorrectly.
Exactly. So now that we have that, we should be ready. We can go into Preview Cuts. Yep, I'm going to cut all this, but actually, I'm not going to cut the outside shape, so I'm just going to go in here. BenchPilot has some pretty simple tools to allow you to deselect and select things, so that way when it goes to cut, it will only cut the things you want. And so this is a pretty simple way of selecting it. And now we just turn it on and let it run.
Yeah, I think this is the part where usually Russ goes to the side and covers his mouth and talks about BenchPilot.
Yeah, so we don't have much of a long cut here. It's about a minute, and you can see BenchPilot's going to do all the selection for us. It's going to kind of cut the closest path, and so we don't have to think too much about that. And it'll tell you how long it's going to take. We have about 1 minute, and I can take my time to do something else. I can get another project ready. I can prep material for the next demo. I can sand some stuff because I love sanding, you know. So there's a lot you can do with BenchPilot while it's doing the job. It is also quite the freedom to, you know, we've already had some reviews rolling in on the website, and people are, you know, just saying, hey, you know, I love driving Origin manually, but there are times where, you know, I just want it to run. I need to do something, time's of the essence, and BenchPilot's basically a shop assistant. You're going to be able to free up a lot of time that you would have otherwise been driving. And this is not a great example of that. It's just a couple lines. But as you get longer projects, more complex things, you really start to save a lot of time. All right. So, boom, there we go. Nice.
Aww.
So a nice little sign. Created in Studio very quickly, and you can kind of see the syncing ability coming back and forth between Origin and Studio. Okay, so let's talk about another little thing. So Studio is actually really meant for everybody. We have a couple different licenses, and we're going to quickly go through the differences so you are understanding of how it works. And let's quickly talk about what's licensed or unlicensed mean, Audrey.
Yeah, so earlier you were saying that, like, hey, Studio saves all your stuff, and that's true for everybody. But then you also said, oh, the files will be right there on Origin, and then you'll have the files again. You know, you can also export from Origin and have them in Studio. That's one of the big differences between having a license and not having a license. Is if you don't have a license, you can still use Studio. You can make as many Studio designs as you
has all the features
you want. It has all the features. We want people to be able to try it and see if it's for them. You know, because it might not be. You might actually be a really big like AutoCAD fan or something like that. So we don't force you to use anything specific, but we want you to be able to try it. So you can use all the parts of Studio for free, but then you're only limited to 3 exports per month.
If you're not licensed, you're basically limited to 3 exports a month. So that means taking it out of Studio for Origin, for other digital fabrication, exporting those Studio files from a Studio file to an SVG file. Then you can use them wherever you want. So if you're limited use, a couple projects a month, sure, you're going to be totally fine with that. Unlicensed, when you're doing more projects and you need to get more files back and forth, you're going to need to check out a license. So we have 2 different licenses. We have a perpetual license, which is perpetual. And we also have an annual. And so you can kind of decide what's right for you. If you'd rather go annual, licenses or perpetual. That's a choice you can make. And if you're in Studio, unlicensed, you can kind of see some information about that when you're checking it out. So the big deal though here is anybody can use Studio for free. You just sign up with an account and you can start checking it out. So you don't have to have Studio to create files for Origin. We should make that very clear. You can use any vector file program that exports a SVG file, but if you're looking for the best, easy-to-use software, we really put a lot of effort into Studio, and it gets better over time. That's kind of what we're here to talk about today with Draw Tool. And yeah, it's so you have no reason to not check it out. So please go check it out.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I'm going to go into what's new with Studio, or actually.
Let's talk about like the Draw Tool and get back to kind of this new feature that came out not too long ago that really gives a lot of power to Studio and how you can manipulate design. So we're going to go over the basics of Draw Tool. If you haven't ever checked it out, this is going to be a great rundown of like all the little things you can do with Draw Tool. And then after the mid-show break, we're actually going to go into a couple different projects that kind of show some of the more detailed stuff.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to show off some of Draw Tool here. We released this a few months ago, but we've also been making some updates. But we haven't had a great chance to show everyone in sessions how it works. So when you click on Draw Tool, then your cursor becomes this sort of point placing device, I guess. And you can see immediately that I'm making a line. There's also some dimension on it. I can keep clicking around, and I can just sort of freely draw any kind of shape that I want. And if I come back and I put the last point over the first open point, I can see that it's going to close that, and it makes a shape. And now this shape is special because it keeps being editable. So, if I can select the points here and I can move them around. I can select the lines and I can move them around. And you can also set specific length for the line segments, and this will be really useful if you've got sort of a dimension drawing and you wanted to really dial this in. Maybe this is supposed to be 3.25 and 160. So super editable, and you can also use it to make open lines. So let's say you wanted to have a cutting board and you're going to put like a juice groove on it, but you don't want it to go all the way around. You might, maybe this is your cutting board and we want to groove along 3 sides. I just press the letter D, so you can also hit the D on your keyboard to get the Draw Tool up, and then you can just click around to make this groove, and obviously I would probably I'll show you using a grid later. And then if I click down and then re-click on the same open point, it'll leave the line open. And what's nice about that is you have a really specific start and stop point for Origin. So you don't have to manually be careful about where you bring Origin to start where it is. You can
it's cool that you can create both open and closed, because depending on what you're doing, you may need one or the other.
Right. And Studio has been great at making a lot of shapes. You can find all kinds of stuff in Find Art, but for a while we didn't have a super easy way to draw just like a single line, and so this is that, but it's so much more. So we're excited for that.
Like if you're making a sign and you want to underline a font, how would I do that?
So, if you just have, your sign, and then you wanted to have an underline under that, then you could just go to your Draw Tool. You can even align it with the piece of text. Draw your line. And then get it right there.
Yeah, so those little red, if you're drawing, you'll see these little red lines that show up, and that's kind of like snapping and showing you alignment to other shapes. And so that's really helpful if you have other pieces already on there and you're trying to align to them. But sometimes that's actually kind of problematic. So sometimes it's snapping to the wrong things or whatnot. So how would I turn that off?
Oh, I was going to show that later.
Oh,
But,
later.
If the snapping gets in your way, you can hold down the control key and then it'll sort of disable the snapping for a moment. And if you unpress it, then it'll come back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's some basics of the draw tool. Let's talk a little bit more about like deleting lines and of parts that you've already created. So let's say I've made a shape and then, oh, actually that's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. Let's take this very random shape, for example. Let's say I wanted to add more teeth. So I could, if I select this line and I delete it, I'll open this shape up. That's not what we want, but don't worry. We can head into Draw Tool, and if I bring my first draw point back over an open end, it lets me know, hey, I'm joining this.
All down on the bottom there, you mean?
Yeah. Down at the bottom, I've got a little toast. It lets me know, hey, I'm joining. If I click and then I keep drawing, then I'm basically just extending this draw shape that I made before. And I can even go and close it.
Oh, nice.
And I've closed it, but I've sort of left behind this extra point. So if I select the point and then get rid of it, then it doesn't break open the shape. It just sort of removes that that detail of that point.
Right. So if you wanted to remove one of the points in the bottom, you could just hover that little dot, click delete, and then it would
it collapses the shape.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So that's some basic kind of adding and deletion. What about joining? And if we wanted to join different types of shapes with one of the lines. So for instance, a lot of times I have a shape and I need to cut it in half. Like let's say I want to make a Pac-Man logo.
Yeah. So we've got a great tool in Studio called Shapeshifter. And it works pretty well with Draw Tool. So here I've made a circle. And then if I make a draw shape, and I can even use the snap so that it's super aligned with this circle that I made. I'm going to click back on the open end to keep this open because I don't need it to be closed. And then if I hold down Shift and select the circle, then I can go into Shapeshifter. And what Shapeshifter does is it cuts up everything together that you've brought into it, and then lets you sort of pick which parts of the resulting cut up shapes you want to keep. So you could sort of paint in to combine or subtract shapes. And now I've got my Pac-Man.
Nice.
You can also use this to make a triangle. So I've got my rectangle over here. I'm going to hit D to make a draw shape, one corner, another corner. And then if I Shift select everything, go to Shapeshifter, make a triangle.
Boom. Nice. So you can use the draw tool to kind of slice up bigger shapes and then use Shapeshifter to select the things you want.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful workflow because that's something you can't do on the tool.
Oh, no. Yeah, that would be really difficult on tool. The tool does a lot. The tool does a lot of stuff, but combining and subtracting shapes is a little bit beyond what it does, which is good because the screen is so small. I think it wouldn't be a great experience.
Yeah, and having the computer and a mouse and being able to select a bunch of things at once and do multiple operations on the computer is much more a nice experience. So, okay, so the last one I want to go over is one that's really cool with Draw Tool is the ability to measure something. Yeah.
So let's pretend like these shapes were things that were on Origin and you exported them and you wanted to know exactly how much room there was in between them. Or maybe let's say we'll say that. We'll say that's the scenario. If I use my draw tool now, I can click on one point and click on another point, and now I know exactly the distance in between these two shapes. So I can complete this draw shape, and I've basically created like a measurement. And that's just a really nice, easy way to just sanity check, like, oh, is this the right distance? And then let's say I've done this, I'm like measuring things. I don't want to actually draw the line. And I'm like, whatever, I was just here for the number. Just hit escape and you're not in draw tool anymore.
Nice. Escape will cancel the draw action. Cool. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to show us of the basics of Draw Tool? Because I think that's a lot of the basics.
That's a lot of the basics. We'll get into it also later. I think one of the things that I'm kind of proud of or excited about is sort of some of the finer details of like selection interactions.
Yep.
I'm behind the scenes in studio, so I care about these things. But like, if you mouse over a line, you can select it. But then if you bring your mouse just a little bit further, you can select the whole shape. So we've really tried to put a lot of love into Draw Tool to make it easy to use and flexible. But we're also continuing to work on it.
Yeah, one of the things I realized the other day when I was playing with it was if you hover a shape before you click, it kind of tells you what's going to happen when you click.
Yes.
And so if you're over a point versus over a line versus over the shape, you can see what part of the blue is being highlighted. And then you know whether you need to move the mouse first to select the thing you want, or you can click and you'll get the thing that was already highlighted.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that's Draw Basics. And what is Studio? As you know, this is a live show. If you have questions or we didn't explain something well, please put them in the comments. At the end of the show, we will answer those live on the air. But I think let's talk about what's new in Studio, because somebody's been pretty busy.
Oh yeah. A lot of us have been pretty busy. So it's not. I know I'm like here talking about Studio whenever we do talk about it, but there's a team. So we've all been busy, and we've been making lots of updates to Studio. And I just wanted to go over some of them here. So you might see there's like a little badge down here in the help menu. We like to list out some of the cool new features in here that we've been working on. But if you want a more complete list, you can actually go to our releases page in under shapertools.com, and you'll notice actually that it's not just the feature releases that are in that updates, but there's also frequent releases for fixing things and improving little things here and there. So we're really actively developing it. So if I go back to, let's say, Draw. So this was a little while ago, and this is the biggest new thing. Since then, we've also added some new single line fonts.
Yep, always welcome on my side.
Yeah, and it's we kind of have to develop these or find them in the wild and get them to work in Studio so that you can predictably cut them on Origin. We've improved depth encoding, so now you can actually.
So this is kind of a huge one, especially when it comes to Origin.
Let me actually. You talk about it, and then I'll demo something.
Let's come over to Origin real quick, and I'll just show you. So I'm just going to make a new scan real quick, hitting scan and new scan up on the top, and you'll notice I'm going to keep it in Bench Pilot. Bench Pilot automatically ignores the crossbar, so I don't have to think too much about that. But I wanted to quickly show one of the really cool things. So for a long time, well, I guess almost a year now, we've had the ability to export files from Origin up to your Shaper account to be able to modify them with Studio or to save files you've created. So let's just create something pretty quickly. A couple circles. I'm going to just copy that. Okay, so let's say we have 2 circles, and I'll quickly make a grid just so we have that. Okay, so if I go into pilot mode and I hover the shape, right now the encoded depth's unset, but if I click that button, I can tell it, hey, I want this path to be cut to 1/2 inch. So now that's set to 1/2 inch, and I want this one to be cut to 1/4 inch. Okay, cool. So now that one's set to 1/4 and that one's set to 1/2. If you're not aware, this new depth icon that shows up on the screen when I hover is part of the Monterey release, which just came out for Origin not too long ago. So if you don't see that, you should download the latest update on Origin. Unlike Studio, which is always up to date, you need to keep Origin up to date as you are using it. So we have these files, and I'm just going to export them up to Studio. So if I click Export in Design Mode, I can name it or I can decide not to name it, and just click the Export button, and that file is going to go to Studio. And in the past, those depths would not get carried along with the export. But as of a recent update now,
Yeah, so if I go into my, sorry, I'm going to do this again. The main menu over here, I can say open recent, and there it is at the very top. And I'll open this file. And now when I go into plan mode, I can see that this is set to 0.5 and this is set to 0.25. So it's just this really useful functionality so that Studio can be a better match for Origin and BenchPilot and vice versa. So now there's just better.
Yeah, even with that
flow.
Mia sign that came in with encoded depths, and I went and deleted them on Origin. I could go back to Studio later and delete them as well, and that would they would kind of be up to date. Or I could just be on Origin, delete them all, and export that file back up to Studio, and everything would be good. So there's kind of this nice play back and forth where whatever tool is the most handy is the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an awesome one, and
right.
everyone's very excited about that one.
Yeah, and then related but slightly different. So I'm going to go over to ShaperHub. I'm going to go to the hardware catalog, and let's find a sauce hinge. And I know I've demoed this one before, so we'll do the 101, sync to my files. So now it should be in my files. If I go back to Studio, let's say I wanted to set up a door with a bunch of hinges, and maybe I don't have plate yet, and so I'm just going to use some tape, and I want to get them all in a row. Now, when we go to import and we say my files, already we're seeing some recent improvements again. So my files got this sort of makeover. Now you can see thumbnails for all of your files, and also hardware files are now showing up, which is great. You can click on this one that I just synced, and if I select it and import, you'll notice that there's this, well, if you're an existing Studio user, you might notice that there's this little red anchor here. When I place it, the red anchor is the reference point. So now what I can do if I had, let's get rid of these circles, sorry. If I had a rectangle, and maybe this could be something that you had probed on Origin, for example, and this is maybe your door, and you want to get like 2 of these hinges and get them on the edge with the right offset. You just drag it over, and then I just hit Command D to duplicate. You can just drag another one over, and you could use obviously the position features in this mode menu so that you could set a specific XY position or snap it to the grid also.
Yeah, so this is really great because Studio used to only have the kind of 9 basic anchors, but now this custom anchor ability that you probably have seen on Origin is part of Studio. So when you're building these more complex assemblies of different hardware, it will kind of all be set up in Studio.
Yeah, or if before, if you're a longtime Origin user and you have a bunch of old files that have those like red triangles in them because that's how it's been forever, but they haven't been useful in Studio before.
Yeah.
Now they are. Now you can import them, and you can move everything to 0, 0. And then just to clarify, this is like a custom shape anchor so that you can have multiple in your file. But if you wanted to have Origin be able to use an anchor from this specific file, I would also select this Add Origin anchor here. And then just to also show off another way that this improves hardware imports, and now we're seeing the depth encoding again got imported successfully, so that's great. You can import hardware into Studio and not do anything else to it. You don't have to reset encodings on Origin or anything.
Nice.
And also, just a flyby, but there's the same tooltip that you saw on Origin is showing up here in Studio. So that's another new feature recently.
Yeah, it's a great one if you're trying to understand what's wrong. You just go in a Studio and start hovering all your shapes, and then you'll see the one that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff, but it also helps. I think the depth tooltip, the hardware encoding, the depth encoding on import and hardware import. It's all stuff that we thought like would be super useful for anyone who is interested in a BenchPilot or has a BenchPilot. we're really trying to make sure.
Yeah, once you get Bench Pilot, you start needing to plan out a little bit more in some cases, and so like having Studio have some of these tools is like makes it a lot easier to set your files up, so you don't have to fiddle around on the tool. You can kind of pre-plan a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's what's new in Studio. As always, Studio continues to get better with time. So check back out. You saw in the bottom left-hand or bottom right-hand corner, if you see a new pop-up with a little red dot, you'll probably see a new feature. Click it and check it out. So
Yeah.
also, we have a community forum where people can use the tools, give feedback. So please come check that out at community.shapertools.com, and we will look forward to see what you build with Draw Tool. So that's Draw Tool basics. What's new in Draw Tool? And now
What's new
we're
in
going to
Studio?
the break.
Yeah. We're at our mid-show break.
Woo, that was a long one. Okay, so how are we at time real quick?
We're only 6 minutes over.
Yeah, we're pretty good. Okay, so mid-show break. Everyone take a breath. I know it's a lot of software. Hopefully that was very easy to understand, and you can play with it a little bit, and you'll get the hang of Studio in no time. But for now, we're talking back to the shop. So our back to the shop promo is here. That means if you are not an Origin owner, you should be, and we have a lot of added benefit for you right now. So if you order Origin and any of the accompanying fixtures, workstation, plate, bench pilot, etc., you can save up to $575 in added benefits. And let's talk about what you're getting with this. So first up, a micro sys. These are pretty sweet. You can build little custom foam trays so that you can kind of put your tools in it. My favorite pry bar. This thing is really nice. It's perfectly ground, so you can get right under your material and pop it up really quickly. Be careful; it is a little bit sharp. Some double-sided tape. This stuff is the best tape we've found for adhering your material to a workstation or any other type of thing. So you can cut it. And this stuff just works like a dream.
Yeah, and it doesn't tear out your...
It doesn't tear out. I mean, there's so many details about double-sided tape. I would bore the entire people here if I talked about all the things we think about. And then let's jump over here. We also have a bit washer as part of it. So if we scroll down a little bit, the bit washer basically keeps your bits clean. And if you're using Bench Pilot a lot, you're going to want to wash those bits more than you had in the past, because a dirty bit means a dead bit. And so the bit washer will keep that really nice and clean. And it only takes 5 minutes. And it's got this beautiful little sound. Look, you just turn it on and it'll start running. And then when it's finished, come on. So anyways, that it also comes with some project plans so you can get used to how Origin works. We actually have Philip Morley's cabinet in there, I believe. And a couple other ones. And then even the last thing is 2 classes with, I don't know actually who it's with. It's probably with me. Me and Jake. We'll probably end up doing that. These are intro classes on how to use Origin, really deep dives, so that when you get the tool, you'll feel ready to go in the shop. It's 2 classes, 2 different days, with a little time in between so you can practice up. And yeah, it's a good time to get back in the shop. So if you haven't already got an Origin, please check that out. Okay, next up, Roadshow. So if you're not aware, we have a roadshow going on. What does that mean? It means somebody's in a truck driving through the East and the West Coast. We're going to pull that up in a second so you can see what's going on here. Roadshow is essentially just a demo time where you can get your hands on the tool and check it out, as well as talk to some of our people. We have ambassadors there that are there to answer questions for you. It's demos, it's training, it's giveaways. Who doesn't love a good giveaway? Just check this website out. It's shapertools.com/roadshow.
Yeah.
And you can see when the specific dates are. I think the Germany one ended yesterday, and the East Coast one is happening right now. So if you're on the East Coast, starting on, I think tomorrow is in Philly.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I need to scroll down.
Tomorrow's in Philly, and it'll be working its way south. And then after those are done, we're coming to the West Coast. And so if you're on the East or West, check this out. Hopefully one's near you, and you can go check it out. Go say hi to Ben. Tell him to give you a demo. Okay. Next up, man, we have a lot of mid-show break.
Yeah, we have a lot of
we have
news.
a master class for Philip Morley. Do you know that guy? He designed this. He's a really good furniture maker. We just did a master class on him about tambour. If we go to the master class website here, we'll give you a little taste of Philip Morley's. So it's all about tambour. You know, if you've been in sessions, we've shown you a couple of the things recently, but if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see there's a video about how to use Origin to cut the tracks. There's a video about how to cutting the staves by hand so you get a perfect continuous thing. All the things you need to know about tambour are here, and Philip is pretty good at it. So
Pretty good.
Yeah, just pretty good. You should check it out. It's a really incredible documentary series that is educational and also just incredibly shot. So check that one out. And I have a little treat for you this week. We have a new masterclass coming out.
Oh yeah, who is it with?
With Adrian Ferrazzuti. So he's also on the Northeast coast, and he does a lot of this crazy veneer work. And so we're going to show a little teaser of the video since you're here. It's not coming out yet, but it's coming out soon. Can't say when. But let's run that tape again.
Let's look at some veneer and why it's so exciting. So we're going all over the planet here. We're back to North America with our white oak. Going to Africa here, we've got some zebra wood or zebrano. This is from an old timer for sure. They don't cut it like this, and you're not going to get wood like this anymore. This is redwood forest, heavy curl. This is fumed eucalyptus. Like, that's just lights out AAA grade figuring is what I would call it. Woodworking is always changing. Design is always changing and evolving. The material is maybe what stays constant. Veneer for me is just another medium to explore. It allows me to create graphic patterns that I just can't do in SolidWorks. It's just construction-wise not sound. It'll explode and just crack apart over time. And then 4 would go down beside 3, and now I've got a double book match. I'm very colorful, I like high contrast, and the myriad of options out there in the world that Mother Nature has given us just really excites me. To help visualize what it is, we can use mirrors. And right here I've got a box pattern, and the grain is running around the perimeter. I could flip this stack over, go the other way, and now I get something really wild in the middle that I might like better. Veneer has a bad rap in North America for sure. It's perceived as inexpensive. But where I really love to use veneer is when it gets creative and we start generating patterns and you bring your own imagination into it. You don't get good at hand-cut dovetails in 2 hours. You can get pretty good at veneering in 2 hours.
All right, so that is going to be a masterclass soon. If you're into veneering, if you know Adrian, he's a funny guy, and he's really talented when it comes to veneering. So that's coming soon. There's a little sneak peek. Okay, last thing, and then we're going to get back to it, is the question for this week.
Oh yeah.
So
For the wheel.
Yeah, so for the wheel, later on for the giveaways in this show, we're going to ask you, what feature do you want to see next in studio? Because me and Audrey are very interested in that answer.
Just a little bit. And you can tell we've been really pumping them out. And so who knows? Maybe
it's already being worked on.
Yeah.
But
we want to know what you're thinking about.
Yeah, just tell us what you'd like to see in studio. That'll be the question in the bottom. Fill that out, and then you'll be entered to give it in the giveaways later. Last note, we don't have a shop tour this week.
Okay.
So we need some more. So if you have a shop, which most people here probably do.
Yeah.
Please send us a video of your shop. It could be dirty. It could be very clean. It could be big, small. We like all types of shops, and we like to show different varied shops. So send it in. It should be horizontal format, a couple minutes. You can feel free to talk over it and explain what you're looking at and what you like and dislike, and send that to sessions@shapertools.com. And if we feature you, we'll send you a little swag pack.
Yeah. Like one of these shirts, maybe.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe
I don't know what's in the swag
maybe
pack.
A flag. Maybe I don't know what's in it. This is you'd have to ask Jake.
Yeah.
You'd
Jake
have to
would
ask
know.
Jake. Yeah. But yeah, please send us shop tour. Okay, that's it.
All right. So the great news is that now we're actually going to start making some projects with Draw Tool. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yes. So for the rest of the show, we're going to do 2 projects and kind of walk you through the basics of how we get there. And then we're going to do some cuts and talk about some cool things along the way.
Yeah.
So I had to go run and get the wood because I forgot it earlier.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the first one, we're going to show you how you can use Draw Tool to help you clean up some of your trace captures. So trace, if you don't know, traces are frame our tool to help you take your drawings and turn them into perfectly scaled vector files. So we've got a trace frame, and when you buy trace frame, you get the app for free, basically. And I'll show you what it looks like in a second. What I'm doing here is I've got this combo square, and we want to make a nice little tray for the combo square and maybe a pencil. And I've traced part of it already. I'm using a marker because it'll give me some nice fat lines, and I'm just going to sort of roughly help myself locate where this ruler goes. But I haven't been that careful with this drawing. It actually looks pretty good. I made it too good, but we'll show you what what it looks like.
In a lot of cases, you can go straight from trace to origin. But there's also a lot of cases where you need to clean some stuff up, and the Draw Tools are kind of a perfect way to do that now.
Yeah. So I'm going to head on over to trace.shapertools.com, and I've put my trace frame over my drawing. I've got to allow the camera, and then now I'm going to just take a picture. And it, like that, just converts it to vectors right away. So there are some tools in the Trace app to, smooth things, to add and remove paths. But since we're going to clean this up in Studio anyways, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that check mark, and I'm going to say, save to Shaper My Files, and I can call it combo square. Hit save. Done. Great. And now, if I head back over to my computer, I'm going to make a new design over here. I'm going to call it combo square cleanup, or tray actually, because it's going to be a tray. And I can use the import menu. Go to my files. There's the SVG I saved with Trace just a second ago. If I import it, place it, there we go. So within seconds, I've got sort of the perfectly dimensioned scan, essentially, of this object. And we can see it's a little bit off-center. Here's where I was going to show off that, that shortcut for ignoring snaps, because sometimes you want to rotate something. You want to rotate it just a tiny bit. So if the snap is getting in the way here, then you can just hold down the the control key on Mac. And I forget what it is on on not Mac, but if you go to shortcuts and controls here, you can find it. So I've squared this up a little bit better. Maybe I can do better there. And what I'm going to do is actually, now that I've squared it up, I'm going to turn off the grid because I don't want to accidentally snap to it. And I'm going to use Draw Tool to clean this up. See these, maybe I want these edges down here to be super duper straight. So, another tip, actually, before I start doing this, is I'm going to grab this trace and I'm going to set it as reference and lock it.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So sometimes in woodworking, you want to be like sketching something dirty and then cleaning it up with some geometric shapes, some like real circles, where drawing circles is hard. But you would want to like draw on top of them without getting in your way, right? Like one of the annoying things about vector design tools a lot of the time is you got to select things and move them around, and it can be hard if you have overlapping stuff. So when you set reference and lock, it turns it a different color, so you know it's not part of your design. And then you can more easily put shapes on top of it, and it won't select the reference as the first thing you click on. So over here, it'll always select the circle first. And then also if you try to do a multi-selection, it will ignore the stuff behind it so that you can easily shapeshift, all that good stuff.
And another key thing is if you try to import this studio workspace into Origin, it will ignore reference paths. And so
right. So
you can kind of
paths,
hide things.
Yeah, they're really just made for designing, and usually you wouldn't want to use that kind of information on Origin when you're cutting. So we just don't send the reference paths.
So we're essentially using trace to capture roughly the area, and then we're going to rebuild it in Studio.
Right, yeah. And I'm going to do that actually with Draw Tool. So here I'm going to click on Draw, and I'm going to just sort of rough this in here. And Draw will, if you have a smart alignment turned on, then it'll automatically snap to the point you just drew so that it's helping you draw a vertical line. Actually, I want this up here. And I'll go there. And then I'm going to add some other shapes later, or maybe I'll just use the trace from earlier to get these curves in. But for these like straight lines, I really want to use Draw Tool to get those lines to be really crisp. And I like that a little bit, but I think I'm a little bit too far inset here. So what I can do is I can select this point, and I'm going to just use my arrows on my keyboard to move the points up a little bit and sort of nudge them into place just to get it just right. And I could do that also with, I can select, say, these lines on the end, and I can sort of nudge them over. So that's what I love about Draw. You can really dial things in.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now that I've done that, actually, I'm going to make this editable again so that I can bring it into Shapeshifter. So now I can hold down my Shift key, and I can select this trace and this shape that I drew. I'm going to go into Shapeshifter, and I'm going to select the parts of this that I drew with Draw Shape, and then the parts that are the curve. So we'll do this, and we'll get, actually that's fine. And that. And just in case, I'm going to say keep existing shapes. There we go. So we've got our combo square here that's been a little bit cleaned up.
Nice. Yeah, so that's a little bit more kind of a perfect digital drawing than what we captured from the drawing.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I wanted to, I could also add in some circles here and, do the same sort of shapeshifter operation and get these to be like super perfect, right? Maybe we can skip that for this demo.
Okay, cool. So there's that. And then, so let's say now we're going to add the ruler area in.
So now let's say we're going to add the ruler area in. I'm going to actually undo so that I can go back to when these were aligned. The ruler, it's a rectangle, so I can just use a rectangle.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's not overthink it too much.
We don't have to use a Draw Tool for everything.
No, you can. And then it's like super editable, but you really don't have to. So I'm just going to get this rectangle in here. And I could also measure the rectangle, but this is going to be a tray, so it just sort of has to mostly fit. And I'm going to get it mostly aligned. Maybe I didn't do a great job with the rotation earlier, but that's okay. I know the Draw Tool shape-shifted shape I made is square, so I'm going to keep to my sort of drawing angles. And then you were saying earlier, like, we should maybe make this.
Yeah, one of the things that always annoys me about tools with adjustability is when you make a foam fitting thing that requires it to be right in the certain spot. And so if you're using a combo square, sometimes you lock it high or low. And so maybe give it the rectangle a little extra.
Yeah. So I'm just going to drag on the edge. So if you drag anything on edge here, it just sort of like pulls it, pulls that taller or shorter without scaling the rest of it.
And how long is that in as far as height wise?
Well, right now it's 9.442 inches.
Okay,
That might be a
well,
little long.
Yeah, we better get down to like 8.5.
I can just type that in. Cool. So we're at 8.5. I'm going to set this back to reference because we won't need it on origin. And then my original draw shape that I used to shapeshift, I can also say I'm not going to use that right now. And then when we go over to plan mode, these are both going to be pockets.
Yep.
So here we're using, the part of Studio that is really considered for fabrication. So this is another way that Studio sets itself different from other vector tools, and what makes it, I think, pretty useful. So we can set our cut types. I forget what the depth was.
Let's see. Let's do.
Is it like 14 millimeters?
Should be. Let's do 8. Yeah, so
what?
8 millimeters. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I was like,
I mean, 8 inches would be a little bit
pretty deep.
ridiculous. Yeah, okay. So 8 millimeters. And
Well, you threw me off when you said
Sorry.
millimeters because I was like, I don't think in millimeters. I was like, oh, there's a button.
All right. 8 millimeters. And it's nice. This will also show off the calculation in the parameter panel. You can type in units and it'll convert it for you. So that's
You can
handy.
even do like calculations like, hey, 8 millimeters divided by 2 or 3, and it'll automatically put it in, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. And what about the ruler?
And then that we're just going to do at 2 millimeters.
All right, cool.
And if we get it right, we should be just flush right on the top.
Yeah, and if I head on over to review mode, the nice thing is I can sort of just sanity check. This is just a quick little preview of what it's going to be what it should look like when you cut it out with Origin or a similar CNC tool.
And I forgot one thing. Can we put a little hole so that I can grab it a little deeper on the top and the bottom?
Okay, so you want a hole here?
Yeah, there and there, right there.
All right. Let's actually make it a rounded rectangle, because then it'll go through and then it'll be radiused, which is pretty
nice. Perfect.
I'm gonna nudge it. I'm trying to figure out how wide your fingers are. Who knows?
Here, I got some. I have the beautiful Shaper caliper, so I can measure it for you. Would you like inch or millimeter?
Let's do inches this time.
Let's do 0.8.
0.8. Oh, that's okay. Good. Great.
Okay. Nice.
And then we'll want to set that also to a pocket.
Yep.
And do it deeper than the.
Yeah, do it a little deeper. So
maybe 10 millimeters.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
All right, and then last but not least, I know I have a lot of requests on this one. I wanted to do a little open line path so we can always have a pencil next to my my combo square.
Great use for draw tool. So if we so you want just like a line over
here.
here.
Just a line
so we'll just
right beside that.
Yeah, and we could make it the same height with our snapping features as the ruler, which will look nice.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, great. And then that can be actually maybe just put it at like 0.08 inches. Let's try that.
All right. Let's see what that looks like. You'll probably use a different bit.
Yeah,
on that
I'm gonna use a little special bit that we have in the store. Okay, so now that that's created, we can check it out in review mode and kind of make sure everything's good. We can also do a lot of that right on the Origin. So I'm just gonna clip in the bench pilot and start a new scan. While you weren't looking, I went ahead and put my material down and leveled it. If you haven't seen the video on the shelf upgrade kit, we have a larger shelf for workstation that allows you to put a much bigger board than the shelf that comes with workstation, and it has a support leg. I don't know if we have a camera over here, but there's a leg underneath the bottom here, and you can do a quick course adjustment and also just dial in the top after you have the course adjustment so you can level out your material to be perfectly flush with the top of the plane. And so we went ahead and do that. I am going to quickly add to scan this because we have a lot of material to look at and work with. So I'll just pick this up and image it. So now I have a pretty good image of where things are at. And let's go ahead and import that. Now I could make a grid to align it to my material, but in this case, just save us some time because I think we are running out. I will quickly place it without that. And I'm just going to stick it right about here. And now I'm just going to put us in Bench Pilot. Now I'm going to cut these shapes out. These pockets are a different bit, but I'm going to cut this one first. So if I go to pilot mode, by default, it's going to automatically try to cut everything, and I don't want to do that at the moment. So I'm going to hit Edit Selection, and I'm going to deselect everything. And that says, hey, you don't have anything selected right now. And I'm just going to hover this shape, hit Select, confirm that selection, and now I have one path. It's going to be cut to 0.05, and I forgot the Z-touch, so let's do that real quick. Now, I have a pretty large bit in here right now, and I probably should have showed it to you before I put it in there, but I was trying to save a little bit of time. It's essentially a rounded bottom bit, and so the idea here is while I'm cutting, it's getting deeper, but it's also getting wider. And so, yeah, here it is. Let's see. I'll throw it up on the screen here so you can see. So this is the profile of the bit. As it cuts and goes deeper, the profile gets wider. That's what's going to hold that pin when we get done. So I don't need to worry too much about the bit diameter. The only thing I will say is the bit diameter is going to determine how many passes we do here. So Origin typically tries to go down by the amount of the bit diameter every time. So when you're using bigger bits like this, one way to kind of slow that process down is just make your bit size smaller, or you can come in here and change your path depth to whatever you want. Let's go ahead and do it in 3 passes, and let's see how that looks. So I'm just going to turn this on, hit the button. All right, and let's see what we got. Cool, a nice little channel. It's definitely not as deep as I would like, so I would go back, change the depth a little bit bigger. One of the things about Bench Pilot is it's going to remember where I was and kind of continue that. So I'm just going to make it about twice as deep and continue that. And so that's going to be a much, that's going to start where I finished that last one and not waste any time. And then do a couple passes. So each time it gets to the end of that line, it's going to go a little deeper, continue cutting. Then it'll go deeper again, come back. And so this is an easy way to kind of dial in your depths. You don't need to think too much about, hey, how deep do I want to go? You can always go deeper. You can never put material back. And so in this case, you know, I'm just going to let it see, and then we'll check it out now. And this is one of the cool things about Bench Pilot. Well, A, it looks awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But B, you know, you can just let it do the work. And especially with these bigger bits, sometimes by hand, it gets pretty hard to control Origin. But with Bench Pilot, it's very rigid. You get this perfect thing, and then if any luck, oh yeah, very nice. Okay. So there's that. So let's go ahead and do a bit change and move on to the next stage. So I'm just going to take this spindle out. And try not to hit the camera. Okay. Quick bit change. Now I'm gonna change to my favorite bit. This is my favorite bit, but this is the 5mm O flute. And so what's great about this is it's an 8mm shank, but it's only a 5mm cut. So you can get a little tighter than the 8mm, especially for these corners, like at the top of this. Obviously, it's going to take a little longer to clear out than like an 8mm because there's extra time. But what I find with Bench Pilot, especially when we're talking about pocketing areas out, like, you know, Bench Pilot makes such a beautiful pocket. The pressure of the bottom, the flatness is so nice. I like to run just one bit. I mean, you can change it out, but what I found is that it just works really well for that. Just let the one bit do all the work. Okay, so I'm looking at my depths, just checking them on tool real quick. Everything looks good. I don't want to do 19 passes, so let's quickly. Good reminder to Z-touch when you change bits.
Yeah, although 19 passes would be really easy with Bench Pilot anyways.
It's true. Once you get Bench Pilot, you stop thinking about how long it takes to run. Although we're going to need to keep our time because we're a little bit behind. So let's just check and see what we got. We got a couple passes here and a couple there. And let's see how long it's going to take. So I'm going to go ahead and change my selection back to these three objects here. Click, click, and click. So now I just have those selected. I have 3 or 4 to cut. I have Z-touch. I have the right depth. And we're ready to roll. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have about 5-6 minutes. So we could either let it run and start talking about the next project, which is probably the right thing to do. Or if you have questions, Audrey, or want to talk about specific things related to Draw Tool, we could do that.
Well, we could talk. We could head into the next project, and I could try to do a quick demo on this next sort of Draw Tool specific use case.
I love that.
Okay.
Anytime Bench Pilot's doing something for me to allow me to do something else, I'm all in.
Yeah. I'm just also putting a lot of trust that the mic will work out while I'm sitting next to Bench Pilot doing its thing.
What if we just bring it over here for a second?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be working on a project where we've got we're going to want to make a little mini cabinet for some micro sustainers, and that's going to be super cute. But we also want to put it up on the wall, so it's going to want to be a cleat, or it's going to want to have a cleat. So I'm just showing you here. I've started this project already, and what I've done is I've gone ahead and put in some basic sort of rectangles in here for each of my micro sys boxes, and some roughing construction rectangles for also the material. So we're working with some 1/4-inch material, and this is just going to help me sort of set up almost like construction lines or things that I can snap to make this super easy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use Draw Tool, and I can just snap to each of these points that I've set up. And then over here, I'm just going to roughly place points where I think the cleat is going to go, because I'm going to dial this in later because this is a draw shape. So it's easy for me to fix any messes that I make there. I know actually I want to leave a little bit on the bottom so that there's room for this shelf over here. And then I'm going to use my snapping again and come all the way around. So really quickly, I have a shape for the side of my cabinet, but I also know that I need this dimension here to be 3/4 of an inch, and I can select this line, and I can see I'm actually off by quite a bit. So I've selected this line, and I think I want to make it bigger, but sort of in the right direction. So you'll see me clicking again on the line to swap which end is fixed and which end is free. So this is a little tip for Draw Tool. There's so many things that could change when you change the length. So we want to make sure you know what's going to happen when you're adjusting parameters in here. So I'm going to set this to 0.75 inches, and then actually it turns out this should come and meet it. The other thing I know, though, is I want this to be a 45-degree line. That's going to be just a little bit harder, but I'm going to try to use my grid to help me out with that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to select all of these points over here, and I'm also going to grab the points on the outside, And I'm going to bring them over so that they're snapping with my grid. That's going to help me out in a second, and I'll show you why. So now it's snapped to my grid over here. My grid is 0.5-inch increment. I actually don't want that, so I'm going to say 0.25. And then I can just drag this point over here, and then I'm going to drag this point up here, and I can confirm that this is 45 degrees off of 180. So that's perfect. That's a great angle for the cleat that I already have. I also know that I think it's something like 3 inches is the size of my cleat. So I can check here what size this is. I'm going to set this to 3 inches. And again, I'm just going to grab this point and drag it to match. So now we've got a perfect cleat that's going to be the right size for our wall over here. And then what we want to do is we want to make slots for each of the shelves to go into. So I have some in here already because I was playing around with it, but I'll show you up here what I was doing, which is that I was going into the draw tool, and then I'll just turn off the grid because I really want to snap to my reference paths. And I was clicking in here to make a slightly oversized channel. And I know earlier I said it's just a rectangle, like you don't need draw tool, but here's a moment where I actually do want draw tool because I want these shelves. So we're looking at a side view, right? And I'm going to bring the shelves over in from the right side over here. I'm going to slide them in, and I want them to be super easy to slide in, but also a good fit. So I'm going to do this trick, which is that I'm going to make the opening just a tiny bit wider on this end. And I can grab this point, and I can just sort of like nudge it up, and you can see also the angle becomes not quite 180. So this is going to be perfect for getting those shelves in without fighting me, because I'm going to be sliding them. So we have that draw shape, and we can duplicate it and sort of snap it up to the other reference paths.
Really cool little detail, I think, there, because especially if you're doing sliding dovetails or done datas before, if you don't dial that in perfectly, it doesn't really slide very easily. So that's a cool little detail on Draw Tool. Okay, nice. Well, our 6-minute cut is complete, and if we come back over here, you can see we have our perfect little spot.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
It's like a little bit tight. Maybe we would.
I think
cut it again,
if I had a little more time, which I don't, I would cut it a little looser. But yeah, you can just kind of see the basics of how it all comes together. So quite cool. That's that demo. Now let's quickly pop this off, and I'm gonna reset this other project real quick. And I've imported that file that Audrey created into Origin, and I'm going to let it cut it really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. BenchPilot is so fast. Look at that. We have all our parts now.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, using Shapeshifter to combine these parts, it'll cut single pass channels all the way through these, cut all our parts out here. We didn't really get to show exactly what we're going to do since we did a little audible off camera, but look how cute these things are.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take our little micro sys over here, and they've just been, they're kind of hard to get off. If you have the sustainers, sometimes it can be, sometimes you need the bottom one or the top, second to the top. So check this out. We're going to assemble this piece right here, and because we have those little tiny, 0.1 degree offsets, sliding them in is quite easy. So I'll hold it here so it doesn't go all over the place.
Yep. And then we can just get these aligned and slide them in. But they're also like not too loose. If we had a little bit of glue in there, it would be a really, really great fit. So I'm just going to slide them. And earlier I made these with Draw Tool as well, which is how it was super easy to put this little cutout for our fingers when we try to grab these sustainers later. So here we're going to stick them in here, Super cute.
Audrey had this idea. I wanted to make a big one, and Audrey was like, why don't we make this micro? And I'm like, that's a way better idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. Look at that. You want the bottom one? Second to the top? You know, and then when you're done, it'll live right here.
Is it? Oh, it's going to keep itself
Look
up
at
there.
that.
Nice. Oh, I love that.
Pretty
Thank
cool.
you. That's
so
great.
we'll get these files up if anybody wants them. Just give us a couple days. And we were a little over, but I think it was a lot of fun stuff. So I hope you learned a little bit about Draw Tool, a little bit about Origin and Binge Pilot.
Yeah,
and,
I hope you have some good questions.
Remember, we're here every Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific, every other Thursday, 4 o'clock Pacific, live. Come and join us if you're watching this on YouTube later. We do this live. Come to sessions.shapertools.com. You can sign up. It'll notify you to remind you. And if we're seeing you on YouTube, we'll see you at the next one. Thanks for coming.